Hiya and welcome back to Bookshelves and Beyond. My name is Lacey. Hello. Today I've got for you a little January wrap-up video, which I'm super excited to film because I feel like I had a really successful January. I don't know about any of you guys, but usually Januaries are really terrible in terms of fresh starts. I always find it really hard to get into the new year, especially after Christmas. I find it really hard to not just hit New Year's resolutions, but just to enjoy it. I don't know if that's just me. I feel like we have been in January now for at least a decade and I'm so excited finally to be over. I'm done with January, we're moving into February. We're getting closer and closer to spring and I'm so happy about that. So without further ado, I read 7 books in January 2024, which is really good for me. So last year I ended up reading 64 books, which I think is actually quite good, but I didn't catalogue any books for January or February because I got my Goodreads in March. So I hadn't catalogued anything up until that point. So we're missing those 2 months as well. However, I'm positive. I have put down 52 books for this year, but I think I'll reach that easily if I've done 7 this month already. So the first book that I finished in 2024, because I actually started it in 2023, is Only a Monster by Vanessa Leng. This was such a really good book. I ended up actually giving it 3 stars on Goodreads. So this is essentially about a girl called Joan who finds out that herself and her family are all monsters. It turns out that the guy who she went on a date with is actually a monster slayer. This is all on the blurb, by the way. Not spoilers, all on the blurb. So yeah, it turns out he's a monster slayer. It goes from there. But yeah, really good. I gave it 3 stars. I thought that it was a little bit hard to get into at the beginning, if I'm honest. It was a bit, I don't like to use the word boring, but it was a bit, in my opinion. There was a lot going on, and I think because this was so unique in terms of like the magic system and stuff, I felt like it was a lot of explaining that needed to be done, and I felt like every time I was reading it, it was kind of like, oh, hold on, they're just explaining something else. So I struggled to get into it at the beginning portion of the book, certainly the first 50% of the book. However, last 50% of the book I absolutely whizzed through and absolutely loved it in the end. So yeah, I did end up giving this 3 stars. So the second book that I ended up reading in January 2024 is actually The Fault of Reach by Eric Nyland. So this is the first book in the Halo series. There's quite a few of them and I think they're still going actually. They're never ending. I really enjoyed this actually. It's the prequel to the video game, so bear that in mind. Like if you like the video game, then I highly recommend reading this. It's basically how John becomes Master Chief and how the Spartans are created, and it talks about how, you know, their suits are created and how they become who they are, and you know, it's really informative, really fun. I've actually not played Halo myself. I've always been a PlayStation girly. However, recently I actually got an Xbox over a PlayStation, so I got the Xbox Series S instead of a PS5, and I prefer it and I am honestly in love. So I thought, rite of passage, I had to read this being a book girly as well. And honestly, I really loved this. It was written beautifully, it was really easy to digest, and I read it so flipping quickly. I ended up actually giving this 4 stars out of 5, which actually is rated pretty highly considering what sort of book it is. Obviously this is totally out of the ordinary for me. I don't tend to read books like this, but honestly, read things out of your comfort zone because you'll be pleasantly surprised. So the third book that I ended up reading in January 2024 was Electric Idol by Katie Roberts. This is the second book in the Dark Olympus series and it features Psychoneuros. It's like marriage of convenience, so any of my romance girlies out there, you will love this book. It's quite spicy as well, so do bear that in mind if you're not really into the spicy sort of stuff. But I mean, Katie Roberts does it so incredibly well. I ended up giving this 4 stars out of 5. I think I gave Neon Gods 5 out of 5, but anything that's Persephone and Hades, I absolutely eat up. But this was really good as well and I absolutely loved it, and it actually had plot to it as well, which is really good. A lot of the time when we have spice heavy romances like this, they can just be about the spice. However, this actually had a decent amount of plot in there as well, which I'm hoping will add to the story of Dark Olympus as a whole, so that when I go on to the next book, it will add to that as well. This was a really good read and I highly recommend this. So the fourth book that I ended up reading of January 2024 is actually So Close by Sylvia Day. Now this is about a guy who is mourning the loss of his wife. I think it was like 6 or 7 years prior she passed away, and he's been mourning the loss of her ever since. He's like practically obsessed with her, has like paintings of her everywhere, keeps, you know, her clothes like pristine and washes them all the time, like crazily like mourning. And one day she comes back. It just goes through that story. It is a romance, although it didn't really seem like a romance to me because a lot of the book was a bit, I wasn't feeling in love. But I ended up giving this 2 stars out of 5 because it was boring, it was predictable, there was unnecessary talk about spice in here. It was a lot of unnecessary stuff that we didn't need to know about. There was some characters in here that were just vile human beings that I don't know why they were here, and they didn't really add to the story at all. A lot of it didn't make sense, the ending didn't make sense, so I don't think I will be continuing with the series. So yeah, I ended up giving it 2 stars. I did enjoy that it was multiple POV. I prefer multiple POV books rather than third person, so like first person multiple POV, if that makes sense what I'm saying. Ultimately, I still don't really know who anyone was in this book. Like, there was a lot of characters who weren't the main characters, and I kind of think, I don't know who you are and I don't care. So I don't mean to be harsh, I just did not enjoy this book. This book is for someone and it's not for me, and I don't know why I originally picked this up. I think it's because I liked the front cover, and when I initially read reviews on Goodreads it actually looked like a book I would enjoy. And then I got this drawn out of my blind TBR, so I read it and I thought, even more so, what the hell am I doing? So I didn't really enjoy it. It's for someone. Don't take my 2-star review as a, oh, I'm not going to read it now because I gave it 2 stars. Honestly, if you really want to give it a go and it seems like a book for you, go ahead and do it. Don't listen to me. What do I know about books? Nothing in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I'm done rambling. 2 stars. Take from that what you will. So the next book that I read in January 2024 is Bonesmith by Nicola Prato. So I gave this lovely book 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Basically about a girl called Ren who is a bonesmith, and she has to do this trial to become a Valkyr. Is it called Valkyrs? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And she gets set up to fail the trial and then gets basically sent to the border of the territory where there was a war like loads and loads of years ago. Things go down, you know, things happen. So that's basically the book. Really, really good. I absolutely loved this book, and it was a Fairy Loot book, so I'm more than happy to read it and own it. Obviously, it looks beautiful. So yeah, I ended up giving this 4 stars. I felt like the magic system was really, really easy to digest and really interesting too. Like, I haven't read a book that's got sort of a magic system like this, so I really, really enjoyed that as well. The characters were incredible, brilliant character development, really beautiful character development, and beautiful world building too. Like, the world was amazing. I mean, it was really gothic, which I love anyway, but it was described in such a beautiful way that I could picture it very clearly in my mind, so I was really, really impressed by that. I also loved the ending of this book, so I am so excited to read the next one when it comes out. The only thing I will say about this though, why it's not a 5-star and it's just a 4-star, is that I felt like the characters themselves there wasn't enough to kind of tell us what they look like specifically. Obviously we got told that she's got blonde hair. I didn't know anything more than that, and especially the characters that aren't on the front cover, I kind of just didn't know who they were, like what they look like. So yeah, that's why I gave the book 4 stars. Now for another 4-star book of January 2024, I listened to The Traitor Queen by Danielle L. Jensen. I listened to this on Audible because it's an Audible original book, and can I just say the ebook was audiobook was really, really good. I gave this 4 stars. This is basically about, so this is the second book in the Bridge Kingdom series. This is about Lara, who has been almost born and you know, trained to become a spy, an assassin. She is daughter to a king of some land. I don't know what are they, like a realm? No, not a realm. Country? I'll say country. And she's got like loads and loads of other sisters who are also been almost like born just to be trained to be killers. One day she finds out, or she figures out, that all of them are going to get killed apart from one, who is going to get tasked to marry the king of another country. This is the second one in the series. I absolutely ate it up, absolutely loved it. I definitely recommend anyone to listen to the audiobook because it was really, really good. Like, it was incredible. It had like sound effects and stuff, and it had a female voice actor and a male voice actor as well, so they were doing each of the main parts, which sounded really, really good. And they had like the accents and stuff down to a T. It was really, really good, and I definitely would recommend this book. It was really easy to understand, really easy to digest. You know, I really, really enjoyed it. It was super fast paced, but in a good way. I didn't feel rushed, and it never got boring. So I definitely would recommend that book to anyone, really. So the final book that I read in January is Seven Faces of the Saints by M.K. Lobb. This is basically about two people. One is a disciple, so they've been blessed by one of the seven saints, and the other person is what they call unfavoured, so they are basically a human without powers. And they have to join forces one day to investigate a series of murders, starting from the murder of a disciple. We follow them through this journey. It turns out that they've got some history together as well, and there is some really nice romance in here as well. A very kind of heartwarming romance. I really enjoy this book. It is a adult fantasy, I believe. It was in Fairy Loot's adult box, and I really enjoyed it. Although this is a very small book, it certainly is mighty. It is small and mighty. I enjoyed it. The ending was really good, and I will likely read the next one just so I know what's going on. However, I did struggle to get into it, so if you did choose to read this, you might also struggle to get into it at first. Ending was absolutely epic, and I didn't see some of it coming. I have to admit, I was pleasantly surprised at the end, but I did slump. I did unfortunately slump throughout this book, and it took me probably 10 days to get through it. On and off reading. I'd read 10 pages here, then not read it for a few days, then read another 30, and then, you know, I slumped hard. I managed to finally finish the book in one sitting, about 100 pages at the end, because I just needed to get through it. I gave this 5 stars, so it's a bit of a middle in the park for me. Now, I try to give reasonable ratings to books, but you rate whatever you want to rate, completely up to you. So that's all the 7 books that I read in January. I don't plan on doing my like future month TBRs because I do a lot of blinds TBR stuff, so I don't actually know what I'm going to read a lot of the time, and I know I could probably pick them at the beginning of the month and then read them, but I like not knowing what I'm going to read. For the time being, I'm just going to stick to doing what I'm currently doing, and I will do my recaps of each month instead now, which is new. A new monthly video to the channel. We're doing recaps now. This is the first of 2024. So I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, we read a very good amount of books. A really healthy amount of books, and obviously we've got the audiobook as well. I was not expecting to read this many books. I'm so delightfully surprised. I really, really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books or share any of my opinions about these books, then please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. I love, 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 love hearing your thoughts. So please don't be afraid to let me know. I also have Instagram and TikTok, so if you want to follow me, please do so. There is these little graphics down below, so you can go and follow me on both of those. You know, as always, I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I hope you guys start off February the right way. Thanks for watching. Bye!